What's happening, everybody? Tyrone Bowman live. I found a video as reported by Democracy Watch with the heading titled, quote, Trump administration openly pushes for resegregation and latest ban reversal. Now, originally, this story probably was covered by Indisputable with Dr. Rashad
This month,
Reese.
we're looking for.
And so what I'm doing, I'm reposting the video that probably was originally reported by Indisputable with Dr. Rashad Reese. Tyrone Bowman Live, welcome to the program, everybody. As we're getting started on this evening, I have a lot of stories that I have to cover, a lot of videos we're going to make before tonight is over on some hot button issues and topics that are happening in the nation and around the world. But off the top, I want to thank the 2 subscribers who contributed toward building the new Tyrone Bowman studio. Thank you very much. I appreciate your donations. And as always, you will remain anonymous until you give me permission to say who you are. But they are subscribers to the channel. Thank you. Appreciate your donation. So we're building the Tyrone Bowman Live studio. And I'm asking you to help me to get it done. Every dollar that's raised goes directly to the vendor, so that the studio, I want to have it done before the holiday season is over, preferably by Christmas time or before then. So if you'd like to help us here on Tyrone Bowman Live, you can simply go to my Cash App at Tyrone Bowman Senior, $Pixel number 4. That's Tyrone Bowman Senior, $Pixel, Piexel number 4. Now, some of you don't like me talking about money. That's your problem. I don't care. You know, we have almost 3,000 subscribers on this channel. If everybody would just send $1, that would help us to get things done. I'm not asking for a lot of money. $1, that's not a lot of money. So help us to build the studio so we can be more professional, so we can look professional, sound professional, in everything that we're doing here. It's to get the studio, to get the equipment, to get the proper things that we need. Now, I want to get down to the essence of this story as reported by Democracy Watch. Tell me what you think about it in the comments section. Let's get down to it.
Making segregated facilities, no Trump administration, making segregated facilities no longer banned. Let's put it up full mass. MAGA, after recent change by the Trump administration, the federal government no longer explicitly prohibits contractors from having segregated restaurants, waiting rooms, and drinking fountains. I will explain. The segregation clause is one of several identified in a public memo issued by the General Services Administration, GSA, last month, affecting all civil federal agencies. The memo explains that it is making changes prompted by President Trump's executive order on diversity, equity, and inclusion, which repealed an executive order signed by President Lyndon B. Johnson in 1965 regarding federal contractors and non-discrimination. The memo also addresses Trump's executive order on gender identity. There's more. The clause in question is the first in the Federal Acquisition Regulation, known as FAR, a huge document used by agencies to write contracts for anyone providing goods or services to the federal government. The clause is titled Prohibition of Segregation Facilities and reads, quote, the contractor agrees that it does not and will not maintain or provide for its employees any segregated facilities at any of its establishments, and that it does not and and will not permit its employees to perform their services at any location under its control where segregated facilities are maintained. Then it defines segregated facilities as work areas, restaurants, drinking fountains, transportation, housing, and more. And it says you cannot segregate based on race, color, religion, sex, sexual orientation, gender identity, or national origin. Several federal agencies, including the Department of Defense, Commerce, and Homeland Security, have notified staff who oversee federal contracts that they should start instituting these changes. All right, to be clear, all businesses, those that have government contracts and those that do not, still need to follow federal and state laws, including the Civil Rights Act.
All right, let me just jump in here real quick and give you some commentary for thought. In 1965, President Lyndon Baines Johnson, during the Civil Rights Movement, issued an executive order. As you know, President Kennedy was assassinated, and he was sworn in as the new president. He issued an executive order stating that segregation would be banned in all federal facilities, etc. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you the reason why you should pay attention to this. Because now the ban is being reversed. You don't have to get angry. You don't have to get bitter. You don't have to protest. All you have to do is shut these companies down by not patronizing them. Don't go to their stores. Don't go to their establishments if they decide to issue segregated sections in their restaurants, with the whites only this and whites only that and black this and black that. You don't have to spend your money where you're ill-treated. You don't have to take your hard-earned money that you broke your neck and your back for during the course of the week and go to where you are being humiliated. You don't have to argue with them. You don't have to debate with them. You don't have to do anything of that nature. And let me tell you something. Their policies were changed when it starts hurting their bottom line profit. The power of boycotting, it works. And if you don't think it works, go to the annals of history down in Montgomery, Alabama, when the Civil Rights Movement, led by then Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., who led the bus boycott, it brought the entire Montgomery Transportation Authority down to its knees. It shut it down. For 1 year, Black people did not ride on the buses. You must be out of your mind. You want us to pay full fare, and you want us to sit in the back of the bus and get up and give the seat to some white racist? You must be out of your mind. It's a difference if you sit at the back of the bus because you chose to, than being told that you have to, and then you're going to pay full fare. There were two women. It wasn't just Rosa Parks. It was another woman. I would have to get her name, and I'll bring it back. They both refused to go along with the segregation of that day and that hour and that time. So you don't have to go along with it. And they don't like us, fine. If you don't like us, you don't like our money. If you don't want us around, you don't want our money. If you think that we are the scum of the earth, then our money has to be scum of the earth as well. Money is green. Money is not black. Money is not white. Money is not Democratic. Money is not Republican. Money is not independent. Money is not a part of the Socialist Party. The color of money is green. Stop spending your money where you're mistreated at. Stop arguing with these people. Stop debating with these people. As I said before, they have a right to say and do whatever they want, but it doesn't mean I have to concur. I don't have to concur with your political ideologies. I don't have to go along with your assumptions and your ideological conclusions concerning me. I just won't patronize your place of business. That's how you handle that. But our people are so gung-ho on getting the things that they want, they don't care. This generation is pathetic. They don't want to stand up for anything decent. They don't want to fight and use their mind power for anything decent, but they'll make dumb, stupid, retarded videos all day long of people arguing and cussing and fighting it and just acting in buffoonish ways and thinking that it's nice and it's cute. How can you spend all day just watching stupid stuff on some of these platforms, not educating your mind? You're not growing your mind. You're not advancing your purpose and your cause in life. If you don't think that the MAGA movement is real, and if you don't think that they're serious, you all keep laying asleep. This Trojan horse has awakened and is moving throughout the land and the nation at the speed of light. This is not a game. This is not a joke. Now let's get back to this video. This is the reason why I need to build my studio, because I'm tired of doing this.
That they should start instituting these changes. All right. To be clear, all businesses, those that have government contracts and those that do not, still need to follow federal and state laws, including the Civil Rights Act of 1964. They have not successfully repealed that. They're coming after it, which makes segregated facilities illegal. While there are still state and federal laws that outlaw segregation and discrimination that companies need to comply with, the legal experts say this contract, this change to the contract across the federal government is significant. Now, I'm going to read a quote from a law professor. I'm going to respectfully disagree. So, quote, "It's symbolic, but it's incredibly meaningful in symbolism," says Melissa Murray. Melissa Murray is a constitutional professor at New York University. Quote, "These provisions that required federal contractors to adhere and to comply with federal civil rights laws and to maintain integrated rather than segregated workplaces were all part of the federal government's effort to facilitate the settlement that led to the integration in the 1950s and the 1960s. Quote, "The fact that they are now excluding those provisions from the requirements for federal contractors, I think speaks volume," Murray says. Highly respected professor of law. I do respectfully disagree. Let me tell you why. We're continuing to look at linear approaches to policy and law. For example, if you were adverse to affirmative action and you believed that affirmative action needed to be done away with, and you agreed with the Supreme Court ruling at that time, I wrote an op-ed that explained it is not about affirmative action. It is about the framework of overall diversity, equity, and inclusion. I said that then. I said they are playing chess while we are playing checkers. In checkers, you use power to gain position. In chess, you use position to gain power. So they were utilizing that one element in order to take down the entire diversity, equity, and inclusion dynamic in the United States of America. So they then went after contracts. They went after scholarships. They went after nonprofits that exclusively served a particular demographic because that demographic was underserved. And now they have freedom to go after it all. But so many thought that affirmative action was just going to be the affirmative action. Affirmative action isn't even a policy, it's a general framework. And white women have benefited from affirmative action more so than any other demographic in the United States of America. Those things were not properly contextualized. Now we have the chipping away of a ban, okay, that specifically prohibited a company from having to do business with the federal government and engage in such an action as discrimination. Why is that important? Because taxpayers fund those contracts. I really don't need to go a step further than that. Taxpayers fund the contract. So you're telling me that I can pay for my own oppression? That's exactly what the government was doing and willing to continue to do. What this does is it eliminates a barrier that the government would have to overcome if they argued that just because a place has segregation does not mean that place is disqualified from contracting with the government. They have eliminated one of the barriers now. Don't think they're not going after the rest. All right? Okay. Big Waz, thoughts, man?
Man, and I think what's important for people to kind of get from this, because it's 2025 and not 1964 anymore, they're not going to do like blacks only water fountains. What they're going to do is like they're going to update it in terms of the people who are being demonized nowadays, whether that be migrants, whether that be trans people, whether that be, whoever. They're going to update it for the people that are currently now demonized within that right-wing ideology and culture. And so that's what I would like people to stay sort of focused on, and don't think that it's going to come in the same forms of, oh, you guys can't use the swimming pool, black people, in Mississippi or Arkansas. They're going to update this thing. And I think that's what's definitely catching my eye, because it's like, wait a minute, like they're not going to go back to saying like, blacks not come here anymore. Like they've gotten a little bit smarter than that, right? Like they know, especially within the discourse, they can't be seen to be doing something straight out of the playbook of Bull Connor, but just trust me, they're going to adjust and do something just as disgusting, quite frankly, and just as discriminatory.
That is correct. And they know there will be a significant reaction, a backlash, if they utilize the playbook from the 60s. So they have evolved in their bigotry and racism. You are spot on. We'll bring you up, Daisy. Come.
Hello, my name is Adam.
In closing, I'll put it this way. It's the same old garbage. It's the same old crap. It's just dressed up in modern day style. It's still racism. It's still bigotry. It's still acts of prejudice. The wheel doesn't have to be reinvented. You just perfect it. And for the record, how do you think a lot of these so-called self-made billionaires pulling themselves up by their bootstraps got that way? Because of governmental contracts. Because of governmental loans, because of the white class privileged card, whereas other people have been denied. You can have the perfect resume, you can have excellent credit, you can even have half of the money up front, but because of institutional racism and institutional bigotry, they will say no. But the same people who oppose you will go and get their friends and their neighbors. And just because of the pigmentation of their skin, and they're not even as qualified as you are, they will make sure they get their governmental assistance, which is nothing more than corporate welfare. So stop believing all these fake biographies and fake autobiographies about these self-made billionaires. They're not self-made. They're that way because the system helped them become that way. I told you all time and time again, and I'm going to go and get the book out of my office shortly and put it in the video again, about succeeding against the odds. It's the true story of the late John H. Johnson, and how he founded Ebony and Jet magazines, aka known as the Johnson Publishing Company, with a $500 loan of his mother's furniture. You don't have to beg, you don't have to plead, you don't have to kneel down, you don't have to grovel at the feet of anyone or anybody. You don't have to come to the trough like you're a pig and eat the garbage that they throw out in order to succeed. Your mind is your most powerful weapon. Your mind is your most powerful asset. When you use your mind power, you have success power. When you use your mind power, mountains will move metaphorically. When you move your mind power, you eliminate all the barriers, because then you realize there's only one power that matters in America, and that is green power. Green power is the only power that matters in this nation. How do you think all these right-wing organizations are being funded that are spewing their vitriol and racist ideology? Because of the white, racist, bigoted billionaires who are pouring millions of dollars into their coffers, and they are the foot soldiers. They're saying all the things that they cannot say. They're saying all the things that they really want to say, so they become their mouthpieces. They become the footmen. And the women are just as wicked and vicious as the men are. You can't have any empathy for them either, because they go along with the salaciousness and the vitriol of their husbands, or else they know they will starve to death, and they'll probably be treated worse than the people that they're trying to downplay. I've told you all about the book about Mein Kampf, the ideology of Adolf Hitler. Get a copy of it, study it, and read it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. Read it for yourself. This is nothing more than an updated version of stuff that has already happened before. And the reason why it's overtly being thrown in our faces under the guise of Make America Great Again, under the guise of we're concerned about the preservation of white people, because deep-seated on the inside of their hearts, they're still the same people. They are the grandsons, the granddaughters, the great-grandsons, and the great-granddaughters of the slave owners from the past. There was a time I went into the Deep South and I visited a slave plantation for myself. The shacks were still there. The horrid smell was still there. The unmarked graves of our ancestors were still there. And they still had the white big house that belonged to the master. And they had the nerve to want people to pay to go to see the remnants of slavery. They don't want to give up power. They don't want to even share power equivocally. They just want to annihilate us if they could physically. So systematically, you try to destroy their psychological purview by telling them that they are inferior to us. Well, if you're so superior, why are you concerned about the so-called inferiority of another species, of another race? And when it comes to debating, I can debate with the best of them. It doesn't matter with me, because I will do my homework before we get on the debate stage. As I said before, I'll say again before I leave. The only reason why I don't censor some of these clods and idiots in the comment section is because I don't censor anybody because you have power of free speech. Just because you have power of free speech, it doesn't mean that you're right with your conclusions and your analogies. Just because you can spew your vitriolic racism and bigotry and you think that I don't know who you are, you must be crazy. You hide behind icons, you hide behind symbols, because you know if I bring you on camera, I would grind you up and you wouldn't even be able to retort intelligently with this brother right here. So this channel, this platform is created for those, so I call it FUBU, for us, by us, quote, close quote. And my mind is on a whole different astral plane. I'm here for an entirely different purpose. And eventually it'll be made known, but it's not time yet. I'm here for an entirely different purpose. We got a lot of work to do, and we have to get it done. This is your channel, your source for information, your source for credibility, your source for wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. And there are others out there that are doing great jobs. That's why I like to get videos from Dr. Rashad Reese from Undisputed. He's a magnificent attorney. He's a great law professor, and he's just a stand-up guy when it comes to the language, the research, and he knows exactly what he's talking about. So as I said before, and I'm going to close by saying this: in the process of building our studio, and with all the people that we have on this channel, if 1,000 people just send in $1, we could get it done. And that way, I don't have to do this. I don't have to have a fake microphone. This is nothing but a prop. There's no phoniness and deceit with me here. I can be in a decent studio with beautiful equipment and everything that I need, so I can conduct intelligent interviews with the movers and shakers in societies. Yes, even those who disagree with me. Oh, I would gladly bring them on the platform. I'm not like some of these other major networks. They're scared to have oppositions on because they don't want to be shown up for who they really are. Pro or con, love me, like me, hate me, despise me, reject me, it doesn't matter. I'll still bring you on. Because at the end of the day, you have the right to be you. I have the right to be me. You have the right to freedom of speech. I have the right to freedom of speech, but it doesn't give you the right to try to eviscerate someone. It doesn't give you the right to try to take someone's life. It doesn't give you the right to just speak salaciously out of your mouth because you choose to. That's not what freedom of speech is for. And if you don't have great oratory debate skills, then do the best that you can. But don't think that segregation is going to come back to America and Black people are going to continue to spend their hard-earned money. You must be crazy. The hour may be new and the times may be new, but it's the same old playbook with the same old stuff. It's just regurgitated and dressed up in modern style. That's all it is. So help me build the Tyrone Bowman Live Studio. Go to my Cash App. It's Tyrone Bowman Sr. $. Pixel, P-I-E-X-E-L number 4. Every nickel, dime, penny, and quarter that you send goes directly to our graphic designer so we can get this done. I want to thank you all for listening. Thank you all for your comments, pro and con. And I'll be back in a few moments with a brand new video. Never surrender, never quit.